Hello there, welcome back to my Build to Civil War. This time I'm going to talk about Avengers Age of Ultron. This is kind of a divisive film. Some people really like it, some people find it just doesn't work. I mean, there is a big problem with it. I mean, unlike the first Avengers, which had a very simple plot ultimately, it was just like, bring them together, have them fight the monsters. That was the plot of Avengers. It was very simple, the character worked through it. This one has a more complicated plot. And the plot gets in the way of the actual storytelling they're trying to do, which is, dealing with the flaws of these characters and dealing with their demons while having them fight. And it gets complicated. And it seems to be like a 3-hour movie compressed into 2 and 20 minutes. That's what it feels like. It feels like there's scenes that could have been in there that would have helped to pace a little bit and have helped to explain things. And you see certain deleted scenes, it was like, why was that not in the film? Because it would have explained so much. There's some scenes that actually do explain little bits that, it would have been 10, 15 seconds, would have explained a lot of stuff you needed to know. So it feels like a film that was overdeveloped, and then when they got to it, they could have maybe spent a few more weeks on it and just cut 1 or 2 bits out and add a couple of bits, and it would have explained things. It would have been simpler. But despite the flaws, it's still a very enjoyable film. The character stuff still works. The reason for the villain being created works, and a lot of the character situations work. So even though it's very flawed, which we'll go into, it's still a very interesting film. And it's still one of the better Marvel films, because even though it goes off in tangents that maybe could have been developed better, it goes off in interesting tangents. It's still pulp, it's still mainstream sci-fi, like it doesn't go into tons of detail and stuff, but it's still trying what it can, and it's still giving you information. I mean, the big thing about the film to start with is Tony invents Ultron. Yeah. And the film starts with them all together and they're fighting Hydra, getting this Loki stick back from the first movie. They're all successful, all their nice parts, they're all very happy. But during this time before Thor takes the stick away, Tony uses it to help himself with artificial intelligence he's trying to build, which will protect the planet from threats. It will save the Avengers. Having to do anything. This is Tony's big idea. It's to build something that will take humanity out of the equation from dealing with humanity. And of course, Ultron is born, and he decides that humanity's biggest problem is humanity. The planet would be better off without them, which is the end goal of it basically is the logical extension of what Tony thought, but Tony never thought that far. The problem with humanity is humanity, which is kind of obvious to everyone but this guy who deals with robots. So Ultron gets loose and decides to destroy humanity, and they spend the rest of the movie trying to stop him. All because a mechanic is too dumb to realise that you can't put humanity's fate out of our own hands. So it's funny because it is dumb, and he gets lambasted throughout the movie for it. He's just like, he's basically the villain of the movie. He doesn't realise it. He's the villain who doesn't realise he's the villain. And so that's a wonderful moment. It's a wonderful moment of inventing that. Then Ultron hates him because he's the inventor. The human being invented him, and now he has to destroy humanity. So it creates this dynamic between those two characters that hate each other throughout the movie. It's just fun for that. So you get this thing where Tony made a massive mistake. Ultron gets these two other superpowered people, which is the Scarlet Witch, who can mind control, and Quicksilver, who can go really fast and run really fast, to help him. They don't know he's trying to destroy humanity. They think he's getting revenge on Tony Stark, which he is as well. So they're helping them. So next time Avengers go against them, the Scarlet Witch mind controls them and brings out their greatest fear, which includes Hulk, and Hulk goes mad and trashes a city. And it was one of the best sequences in the film where Iron Man has to go stop Hulk from going mad. Hulk's destroying a city, Iron Man has to come down and stop him. And it's everyone's worst nightmare about Hulk coming through. So it's a great sequence as Iron Man just has to use a Hulk Buster to try and keep Hulk from destroying the entire city. Great sequence. And then eventually, as the movie progresses, they eventually find ways, they find out where Ultron's hiding out, they find out what his plan is to destroy humanity, and they go and stop him. That's ultimately the plot. There's lots of little tangents to do that some are successful, some are not. The big problem is there's just too much story for this film and they don't have enough time to do it. There's also that Joss Whedon isn't great at plotting, so there's things they just overdevelop, and there's all stuff that kind of could have been a lot more simple and it made more sense if they just done it a much simpler way. So there's a lot of clutter that could have been solved in the script stage that develops and creates problems. And there's some weird disconnects. Like as soon as they start fighting and the Scarlet Witch takes over their mind, there's a nice sequence, but from what came before and the pacing that's been going before to that, it's just disconnected. It just takes you out of the movie for a bit. And it takes a while to get you back in the movie because stylistically they just do something odd with it and it doesn't quite deliver. I mean, they could have just shown them be affected and then come back later to see what they see, and it probably made more sense emotionally to you and worked out what the problem was. But instead they show it at that time when it becomes this weird problem where it feels like a scene from another movie. And that just becomes a problem. And it turns the movie in a different direction for a bit. And then the rest of the movie feels too focused on that and what they saw and why it's affecting them. But even though it's a very interesting element, it's just slightly overdone. It just could have been like fine-tuned a little bit to get what they wanted to say. But it just feels like you're dealing with that too much and it comes from another movie. So it creates a problem for this movie. And that just develops because you've got this one story of Ultron you're trying to deal with, now you've this other story of what they saw in this vision. And they don't always come together. And I think that becomes a problem in this middle of the movie where there are two films crashing into each other. And it just creates a situation where it's not always enjoyable for the audience. I thought it was interesting, so it doesn't really bother me. I wish they'd done it slightly better, but it doesn't bother me that they've made that mistake. It's a mistake a lot of films make of having too much story and your focus is all over the place. But that's what it does wrong. What it does right is it keeps focusing on the characters. It's funny. People are quick-witted. People have problems. I mean, Joss Whedon is very good at showing how these characters are very flawed. He's the best at the flaws. Other people are better at other things than characters, but he's good at what's driving them, what's bringing them down, and what's creating the problems. And he's good at smaller characters. So again, like Hawkeye is a much bigger character in this film because you get to see what his deal is. So after they've faced Ultron, have to go on the run for a bit from Ultron. So that, because Ultron's caused so many problems for them, it's better to hide away from the world for a little bit until they get a plan together. So they go to Hawkeye's farm, which no one knew about, when you find out he's got a family. And it fills in so much with him, and it gives him so much more to do, and you realise he's kind of one of the centres of the team, even though he seems to be an outlier character. He's actually the one who's keeping an eye on them and making sure no one goes off tangent too much. So you get to see why he's important to the team as well. And you get to see how this family is important to Black Widow as well, because she can't have children, so this becomes her like surrogate family, so she's their aunt, and it's really important to her as well. So you actually see this, what started off as assassins, you see what's important to them, and it becomes a very human story, and that becomes a very hopeful part of the film. And you get to see what's driving Hulk, that he feels like he can't be part of that, this kind of thing. And you see that Steve Rogers is disconnected from this as well, even though this is what would probably have been his perfect idea of a family from when he was younger, but now he's moved on from it. We also see how him and Hawkeye are very similar people in other ways. So there's lots of great character stuff there. I mean, I'm really glad that's in the movie because it really helps the movie. It's just there's the whole idea of these visions seems to have made it slightly overdone, but it's still a terrific sequence. And then I mean, there's other great stuff. I mean, they go to I think it's Hong Kong or Shanghai. There's a great sequence of chasing Ultron down through the streets. And this is where Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver join them when they realise what Ultron's ultimate goal is. And that's probably my favourite sequence in the film because it's actually all the more human element characters, characters without that much technology on their side, having to deal with Ultron who's got all these gadgets. And it's this dynamic that's very interesting because the Quicksilver doesn't come until the very end of the sequence. So you're seeing basically Captain America, Black Widow and Hawkeye dealing with Ultron. So three very human characters versus this huge character who can do all this stuff. It's a very human fight because they're getting beaten up for the sequence, or they're having to use their initiative to avoid getting caught, and it's a really terrific sequence. That all leads to the big fight at the end where they go back and Ultron's going to raise a city and crash it into the earth and cause a apocalypse. And that's a terrific fight as well because even though there's plot points that are like, meh, they have to be done to get you the plot across. The actual human interaction of them trying to save all these people from this city that's rising. It's a great science fiction idea. The interactions on the sequence are terrific. It's just the film is so overcomplicated by too much detail that it becomes exhausting because it's like there's just too much in the film. That's this point. It could have just been toned down slightly and it would have made a better film. But even that, it's still really enjoyable to watch, so I can't complain that much. It's a bit overstuffed. I mean, that's the worst a film does, is overstuff itself a little bit. That's not that bad. I mean, it's overstuffed with character points and the whole idea about the humanity worth saving despite all its flaws. And that's what the whole film's really about. And Ultron says no, and they say yes, and they invent a Vision, who's this character who's very much like Ultron, but who's a humane character who sees human beings as worth saving. So that becomes the point of the movie, is human beings are worth saving despite all the flaws, which is a nice sentiment in a film like this. It's just the film is as flawed as the human characters, which makes it very lovable. I mean, I really enjoy Avengers, but I really love Avengers: Age of Ultron, probably because of its flaws. It's a much more flawed film, but there's so much more in this film that I like a lot more than the first Avengers. The characters I like more in this one. The sequences I think are more inventive, and more important to who the characters are. It's like it's a 3-hour movie stuffed into 2.5 hours. It just feels like they just needed more space in certain areas just to let itself breathe a bit more. Because certain scenes are just, revelations are just one after another, and when you could use a bit of breathing space before you go out to the next bit. And that would have helped a lot in this film. But it's flawed, but it's still very enjoyable, and I've got to say I still think it's one of the more interesting Marvel films, and I'm really happy it exists because it's good a series has room for this flawed, mad movie. You know, it's nice to have a few that. I think every series needs like the high points, they're going to have some of the low points, but you need a few of these mad movies in the middle that some people like, some people don't like, but they're kind of just a little bit nuts. Every series needs a few of these because I think they're needed to actually move it on. They may have done some stuff wrong, but there's a lot of gems in the mess. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't as rambling as the film. And I'll be back with more Build to Civil War. Okay, bye.